everyone, welcome back to my YouTube channel. Today I'm actually filming from Prague. And why Prague is because I'm actually here for one whole week for the Ashtanga Yoga teacher training course for the primary series, which is conducted by Manju Jois. As a little bit of background for those of you who are not familiar with Ashtanga Yoga or is still new to Ashtanga Yoga, Ashtanga Yoga is actually developed by this guy called Manju Jois, and Manju Jois is his eldest son. He's been doing a little bit of traveling around the world and giving workshops and courses. What initially happened was I was looking for a yoga retreat in terms of like wanting to spend a week doing just purely yoga and just focusing on it, nothing else, before I head back to Singapore. But what actually happened was the workshop, the retreat that I wanted to go to was fully booked out, even though I was trying to book it like months ago. So what actually evolved then is for me, I went to research on what are the available Ashtanga workshops as well as Ashtanga courses, and I found this particular one. And I thought, why not learn from the person or rather the family who developed it, because Manju Jois is no longer around this world. However, his son is very, very experienced. He started learning from a very young age, and he started teaching at the age of 15, which is really impressive considering now that he's got a lot of experience, not just in terms of the types of students that he's met, in terms of the style of teaching, and I thought it would be a great learning experience for me. Even though I still much consider myself as someone who is still very beginners towards the whole yoga world, and especially also towards Ashtanga Yoga. So I'm really excited. Today is actually day 2 of the yoga course. Yesterday was day 1. What I learned is that every day the course will be held from 10 a.m. to 3 p.m. It will first start with Mysore practice, which is independent practice of the primary series. It will then break into lunch for about an hour before we move into learning about adjustments, about chanting, about pranayama, and so on for the rest of the workshop. Yesterday, and I thought, why not also to feel my own personal reflections after each day. I think yesterday coming into the course, I was really scared and nervous because I feel that there was still quite a few things about the primary series in which I haven't quite nailed it. And I was doing quite a bit of cramming before the class as well. In the morning I was watching YouTube videos on the Ashtanga primary series. Thankfully it was available on YouTube, the one conducted by Manju Jois together with 6 really experienced students. And I felt that I was definitely not there yet in terms of some of the asanas or the poses. So I really felt very worried. However, after the Mysore class, or even during the Mysore class, I told myself to just focus very much on the practice itself and not to be distracted by either the people around me or the fact that Manju Jois is right in front of me. So I really, really felt like I immersed in the practice, and I felt that it was probably one of the best practice that I had. I also reminded myself that it's going to be 5 days of Mysore practice, which means to say I need to have stamina to maintain from the start to the very end of the course. So I told myself to take each pose slowly and to really breathe into each pose so that I don't actually feel a strain or I don't end up injuring myself as well. I think what's really important is for you to really feel the poses and to really enjoy the whole practice, and that was what I did, and I hope that I did well because sometimes you just don't see yourself as well as how others observe and see you. I particularly also like the adjustments that either Manju or the other training teacher was actually helping us with. I really liked what happened later on in terms of the adjustments session after lunch, because what we did was not just looking and observing how adjustments should be done, but rather we got to practice adjustments on each other too, and also to feel how the adjustments feel like on yourself. And that's where I felt like the learning got to another level, because what usually happens at yoga practice is you just focus on yourself, you just focus on nailing that pose, and you just focus on just doing that pose like to the perfect manner. Very often you do not do adjustments on others, or you don't really conceptualize or feel how each pose should eventually look like, and that was what I felt that I was able to get closer to yesterday after the class. So what we did yesterday in terms of adjustments was we did it on all these standing postures, and the focus really is to open your heart and also to make sure that your spine is straight, and understanding how each pose is actually beneficial to all of us. So I really did had a really enjoyable first day. I'm really excited for the next 4 days. I'm just about to prepare to go for the Mysore class right now, and I hope to film my reflections either later today after the course or tomorrow morning. So we'll see. I am pretty excited because we're halfway through the course. However, that also meant that the course will be over soon. I can't believe how fast time has passed. So yesterday was a similar session to what we had on first day, which was going through a Mysore class in the morning and then having a little break, and then in the afternoon what we did was a bunch of different adjustment sessions. We did a recap of what we did or what we learned on the first day, and on the second day we extended it to not just the standing postures but also the sitting postures, just the first half of it up to Marichyasana C. So I think what is really helpful is not just only doing independent practice but also understanding how each of the postures should actually work, not just by performing the adjustments on other people but also receiving the adjustments yourself, because not all of us are perfect in the way of our body construct or our body anatomy or even the level of yoga experience or ability that we're currently at right now. So I feel that with the adjustments, and more importantly is because everyone is so focused and dedicated to want to be part of this course and to want to do well, the adjustments also come with more focus and more technique and also more care. Because all of us are still really new towards how each of the postures should be adjusted, and we don't want to injure the other person, but at the same time still taking in the feedback that we receive from the person getting the adjustments. So I thought that it was really quite interesting. And this morning what I actually did was I am going through just like some of the revisions, not just going through the postures but also seeing how I should adjust other people, because I think it takes a lot of practice, it takes a lot of experience, and it takes some time as well, and everybody's body is a little bit different. What I feel of today is also a little bit of reflection on myself, in that I'm starting to feel a little bit sore in terms of my muscles. I feel that my muscles are strengthening, yes. However, for those areas that I've really stretched a lot more yesterday, especially those parts that we focused on in terms of the adjustments, I'm starting to feel like they're aching a little bit. I hope it is the normal sort of ache, but I also hope that with a little bit of warm-up they don't actually feel as sore as how they feel right now. Otherwise, I feel pretty excited for the rest of today. I know it's going to be quite a similar session as what we did yesterday, but of course with an extension of what we learned before. On top of that, we are also learning a little bit about chantings, although I would say that I'm not quite sure if I know exactly what is happening during that part of the class, because all the chantings are done in Sanskrit, and I don't actually have any experience back in the day when I was practicing, or rather back in the last couple of months when I was practicing Ashtanga Yoga and trying to learn what these chantings actually mean. So I am quite excited, yes, but at the same time I am also keeping my eyes and heart open to just receiving all the teachings and all the learnings, be it from Manju himself or from the rest of the class. So let's see. Hi everyone, so today is day 4 of the Ashtanga Yoga Teacher Training course. So just a little bit of reflections today before I head off to the course itself. Primarily what I wanted to talk about was yesterday's practice. Yesterday's practice, instead of a Mysore class, which is more independent practice, it was announced that we were going to do a LED class, and that made me really happy. I went like right after the announcement. So why I really enjoy a teacher-led class is because I think number one, I don't still do the counting very well. I feel that whenever I do each of the pose and I try and take count of 5 breaths before I actually transit to the next pose or move on to the next posture, I think that it's not very evenly spread. That's number one. Number two, it's also I feel that for each of the pose, when it comes to poses that I don't tend to do very well in, I tend to skip the beats a little bit, or I breathe a little bit faster than usual. So I think it's always good to once in a while go for a teacher-led class, because I think it helps to bring you back to what the supposed postures, or how long you should hold each posture to be. So I thought that it was actually quite a refreshing change, considering that we are halfway through the course. We've been doing independent practices in the morning, we've been doing adjustments in the afternoon. It's good to take check as to how we are actually doing in terms of each of our practice. So I'm not sure what it is going to be this morning, but I suspect it's going to be back to my sore once again. So it's good that after the reminder of how it should be, today we're going back to what it should, or how the practice should normally be done. I think it's also important that as we practice Ashtanga, which is a series of very structured poses, to not forget that there are actually things in which our bodies are actually more in tune with, we're more flexible, we're more strong in, and there are some postures in which it really targets and focuses on what your weaknesses are. And for me, it was quite the case for quite a fair bit of the core work. I was quite successful in one of the poses in which I didn't manage to do before, and I finally managed to do it yesterday, so I was really happy. That smile on my face really just showed it all, and I could feel that even Manju himself, as he was like noticing the class, he knew that that was my weakness based on observations for the last 2 days, and I could feel like, okay, wow, she's managed to do it. So I felt that there was another achievement. I think that said, it's also important not to forget that there are still quite a few poses in which I like to work on. I've been trying to keep a daily journal as well, my own reflections on how the practice actually went, how I actually feel during each of the practice, and what are the poses in which I still need to put some work in. So I hope that this course would actually develop in a way in which I hope it would be, which is to say that I'm improving, and I'm also knowing what the right postures are, and I'm actually working towards being a stronger yogi. That said, I'm really excited for today's class. Once again, I'm aching, but it's not an uncomfortable or injury sort of ache and pain. It is just something that my body is just not very used to doing Ashtanga every single day, the full practice that is, and it's just strengthening up. I hope it is doing good conditions to my body, and I can't wait for practice later and also adjustment classes. I definitely need to really maintain my focus and strength and hopefully get through today. So yeah, after today it will just be one more day left. Tomorrow is the last day, and definitely pushing through. So let's see. Today is day number 5 of the course, which means it's also the last day of the Ashtanga teacher training for the primary series. So I'm really excited, but at the same time also feeling a little bit sad, because it is the very last day, which means to say we're not gonna have like any more additional stuff or whatnot. And I definitely hope that I'll be able to extract as much as I can today, as well as how I did for the last 4 days. So yesterday what we did was we did a Mysore class in the morning, and in the afternoon we were introduced to some of the poses in the second series. I think what I've learned over the last 4 days is there is also a lot of differences when it comes to teaching styles by different yoga teachers. It appears to me that in the West versus the East, in the West it seems like people, or rather the teaching style is more having more fun elements to the whole practice itself, whereas in the East it's a little bit more traditional and a little bit more strict. I'm not sure which one I'm more inclined towards, because I think that both are beneficial for me at different stages as well. I think at the very beginning I would very much love to really just enjoy the sport or enjoy this whole yoga practice. Whereas on the other hand, if I really want to improve, and based on my own style of learning, I think that the more strict approach would allow me to actually grow a lot faster, or grow in a way that I get a good, strong, solid foundation. But at the same time, I also know that like yoga practice is a very individual practice, so you should sort of develop your own style in a way, but at the same time also following and adhering to like the Ashtanga golden rules, in my opinion. So I think in part I feel very exposed to a wider variety of teaching styles, and I very much enjoy how the classes are conducted in a very jovial, in a very candid, in a very positive manner, which makes everyone laugh, or which makes everyone feel that they are a part of the class without feeling inferior towards their current practice, because none of us are perfect in a way. And I think in terms of our practice, each of our practice, we're still trying to develop our own weaknesses to strengths. So it is very important to not start to feel pressured, or to not start to feel like, oh, I'm more inferior than the others, because ultimately you should only be challenging yourself in this. So I really hope that I would still have that kind of mentality or that mindset whenever I face a difficult pose, or if, let's say, I've been working really long towards a particular pose and I'm still not nailing it. I hope that I will be able to have that similar mindset going forward, in that I don't give up. I treat it as my body is still working hard towards it, and more importantly is also listening to your body towards working towards each of the poses. So I think that is my reflections for yesterday. I should get prepared for the class today because I'm running a little bit late, and I don't want to feel too rushed before I start my mindset practice. So I'll see you.